Hi, and welcome to another episode of Navigating Through Life. I'm Chantal Swart, and today I'm extremely excited to introduce Professor Renata Schoeman, who is a psychiatrist and an associated professor at the University of Stellenbosch in leadership. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Chantal. I'm looking forward to this.
Today we want to touch on the Netflix sensation that's taken the world by storm, the Tinder Swindler. And basically what that is about is an array of women who matched with this man, very charming, rich person, fell in love, everything seemed wonderful, they were planning a future, and at some point he basically convinced them to give him money. And it turned out that that money would be lost and they wouldn't ever get it again. Renata, today I want to ask you a few questions, and basically what it's about is, this thing has become a big sensation and we're trying to warn people all the time. And you and I live in South Africa, and there were, in the media, they were talking about this man. He was in South Africa on Tinder as well. And my concern is, considering the socioeconomic status of some of these women on Tinder, especially South African women, do you not think that, in a sense, the idea of a rich swindler is being romanticized here?
Chantal, yes, and I have two thoughts about it. On the one hand, I want to believe that most South African women is very level-headed. I saw a number of memes going around when the guy now calls in distress a South African woman to say that he's in trouble, and the various responses like, oh, really? I mean, like, we're in trouble. There's so much violence and crime that, you're not going to impress us being in trouble. But at the same time, if we look at the influences in South Africa, especially the young, upcoming, very popular people, how they flaunt their wealth. And they become the role models that many of the younger women or the single woman or the woman that's disillusioned in relationships look up to. And then if someone with the means come about and promise them this fairy tale, and especially initially live the fairy tale, I do believe in that sense, women are so desperate financially, not necessarily desperate in terms of a relationship, that it might make them more vulnerable.
Yeah, well, he did really put them on private planes. He did really spoil them. There were so many things that were, as you and I discussed earlier privately, there's that saying, it's too good to be true, but it was actually there. You can touch it, you can feel it, it's happening. How do you sit in that situation? And they didn't know it was
funded by someone else.
How would you know? And how do you sit in that situation and tell yourself, this can't be true? Pinch yourself. Is this a dream? But it is true, but you don't know what's coming ahead. And that's why I want to ask you, because we need to touch on the dangers here. And the danger for these women is that they lost copious amounts of money. Hundreds of thousands of rands is lost, and they're in debt and they need to pay it back, and this man is not going to help them with that. What are the warning signs when you are on dating sites? And I just want to tell everyone who's listening right now, Tinder is not the only dating site around. There's Bumble, there's Hinge, I'm sure some people use Facebook as a dating site, but there are plenty of places where you can meet people online, which is a place where you should be aware. There aren't specific places where it's safer. But if you are starting to chat with someone, what's the warning signs?
I think even before we get to the warning signs, it's just some basic risks that's involved with online dating. If you think back, well, when I was younger, a couple of decades ago, the way that we often were introduced to people was either you meet someone in your circle of friends or in communal interests like hiking or dancing or whatever the case might be, or you set up with blind dates. But the blind dates was arranged by family or friends. So there
Yes.
was collateral. You had that collateral. No one was going to introduce you to someone that they know was deceitful or an arsehole. You had good references. The second thing, there was context. You know the type of people you surround yourself with, or your colleagues surround themselves with. And it's most likely that your group of people would attract people with similar interests and similar values and similar standards of living. Now, it's not to say that we should aspire to get out of the standards of living, but that is the thing that's incredibly difficult with online dating, because A, you do not have collateral, and B, you do not have context. So starting there, that is why the red flags, or what you asked me about, what is the danger signs, we should be so much more alert to them, because you do not have a girlfriend next to you that tell you, no, please be careful. You're not necessarily going to share with them. So the first thing is, if it's too good to be true, it most likely is too good to be true. It isn't definitely so, but it's most likely. And therefore, you should even make yourself a bit more, how would I say, wary of it, and make double sure, triple sure. The second thing is trust your gut. We have a gut feeling sometimes that something is not right, that you need to check on. And that thing, there's an Afrikaans saying, waar daar rookie is daar 'n vuurtjie. Also, if there's something that's alerting you, maybe the person isn't where he said he was, or whatever the case might be,
Yes.
listen to that gut instinct. The other things that you need to look out for is people that want to move too quickly in a relationship. If they ask you on the first day to stay over, or to go away for a weekend, or to jump on a plane, please don't. Please don't.
It's not
Just
romantic.
pause.
It's scary.
No, they can kidnap you. It's not necessarily a nice outing to Ibiza or somewhere. They
Yes.
might actually kidnap you. So you don't know. The other thing is often that people that you meet on the first date, and they are so self-centered and egocentric that they only talk about their materialistic achievements, or their houses and their cars, and who they know, and name dropping and stuff. Be careful. If you really want to build a relationship, you also start with, what books do you read? Who's your friends? Where do you hang around? In terms of learn to know the connections. Try to understand a bit more about the values of the person. And also, if you look often, people that is, I want to say in brackets or inverted commas, maybe dangerous, or that there might be something not too kosher. It's when there's a history of unstable relationships, or it's people that do not have a good and stable circle of friends or family members. They tend to burn bridges wherever they go. As soon as they're building, they burn it. So the problem is they're extremely charismatic. They can be extremely, they make you feel good because that's their skills. But as the relationship progresses, they might isolate you. And you might also hear then that either they would delete someone completely out of their life as if that person never had existed before, or you start to hear this repetitive pattern of building, breaking relationships, and there are actually no stability.
The other thing I'm wondering about, and this is a very loose term because we always say that we shouldn't just label people, are these men, and I know sometimes women as well, are they identified as narcissists?
Some of them can be narcissists, some of them can be psychopaths. So it's difficult from the Tinder Swindler movie to determine whether the person is a narcissist as well. But psychopathic behavior, definitely. It was strategic, manipulative deceit, no remorse, no guilt feelings. And if you saw his responses to the movie, I mean, he's completely self-entitled and can't see that he's done anything wrong. Now, there's another Netflix series, Inventing Anna. And in Inventing Anna, definitely also psychopathic, but in the movie, it's clear that Anna is also narcissist. That absolute self-entitlement and also no complete disregard for other people's feelings. So it's in her case a bit more clear, but it's maybe a series where you can go into more detail that the double personality comes out. Double personality means of two personality disorders. Where in Simon Levie's case, it's difficult to say just from that documentary whether there's narcissistic traits as well. But from a psychiatric perspective, we talk about cluster B. So it's in the same group of personality disorders. So it's possible.
So a last question for you, what I was also wondering about is, considering everything we've spoken about, how do you safeguard yourself?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned already, listen to your inner voice, listen to your gut feeling, listen to, if you feel that funny feeling in your neck, your hair, listen to it. If you feel uncomfortable in a situation, listen to that little voice that's speaking somewhere inside. I think just from my perspective in terms of relationships or online dating specifically, but whether it's online or not, any first date, make it safe and neutral grounds with a time limitation. Rather meet someone for coffee over your lunchtime where you know that there's an end to this date, you have to go back to work, than to have an open-ended meeting at the end of the day where there's alcohol involved. Never ever meet at a hotel room, never jump on a plane. Right, so that's not a good idea. And if you can avoid alcohol, I know some people say they're more comfortable when there's a bit of alcohol, but it also numbs your red alert meter. The second thing, always make sure that someone knows where you are. Make sure that you tell a friend or a family member or colleague, I'm meeting so-and-so at this place. This is when I'm supposed to be back. And if you can, put a tracking thing on your phone. Have an active pin. We cannot be too careful these days.
No.
The other thing is that bounce thoughts. Tell your friends or a confidant about a person that you had a date. Say, this is what made you feel comfortable. This is what made you not feel comfortable. And after you've met, make sure that you do introduce this person to your circle and see also if this person fit in. So that's just some general dating advice. It's not specific for the online environment, but I think, as we mentioned, the two things that make it very difficult in online environment, you don't have collateral, you don't have context. So you need to build this as soon as you can.
Yes, that's very interesting. We often have these gut feelings that we ignore. There's this meme on the internet that says a red flag isn't a challenge.
Oh,
it's not a challenge. And another interesting thing, if there's something that you're suspicious about and you ask this person, the person gets offended. I usually, as a single person, I find that to be a very big red flag. If you're asking out about facts about this person's work or finances or family, and they get angry or upset when you ask these questions, that's a red flag for me, and I'm out of there.
When they become defensive.
Yes.
And then maybe a last thing is it's not a bad idea, and I think that was the saving grace in this movie also of the girls, so they could start to pick up the pieces, is they kept all communications.
Yes, absolutely. Renata, thank you so much. This was extremely insightful, and I'm hoping somewhere someone is listening to this. We get chronic swipers, people on these dating sites, and they sit every day swiping, either left or right the whole time. And I'm hoping that somewhere someone is listening to this and they would have picked up on something, that they would know what to do in any situation. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Be safe.
Will do.